It is 10:13 on this Friday. By far the biggest health news of the day. The Food and Drug Administration has given the full green light to a drug that could help millions of Americans who are suffering from Alzheimer's disease. Experts believe this slows down the progression of the disease, but it's not for everybody. So to talk more about that, let's bring in Kristen Casado, the Communications Director for the Alzheimer's Association's Connecticut chapter. You've been talking about this possibility for so long. Kristen, how good does it feel knowing that Leqembi has now gotten that full green light from the FDA?
Almost unreal, but very exciting, Tim. And you guys have had us on a number of times to talk about it, so thank you. We're just really happy that the FDA decided to give full approval to this medication because it really could be life-changing for a lot of folks, again, in the early stages of Alzheimer's or MCI, which is that mild cognitive impairment.
Right. You mentioned early stages. That's the biggest distinction here. And why is that so crucial?
The study that was done on about 1,800 people, it was an 18-month study that showed 27% reduction in cognitive decline after that time was done in people with early onset. So once you get to a certain point, this medication might not work as well, right? So the amyloid plaques we've talked about, those proteins are what forms in the brain. It's a hallmark of this disease. And this is what's being attacked by the medication and taken down. We do not know what it would do to people in the later stages of the disease. However, what's interesting is this medication is now being studied in folks who have the amyloid plaques but don't have symptoms yet to see if this can be a preventative medication. So that's also a study going on. So there's a lot happening right now.
Yeah, and there's plenty of reason to believe, at least proof of concept, that it might be able to do that. Still need the studies to figure it out. Let's talk about cost. What is this going to cost for people on Medicare, people who are not on Medicare but insured? There are a lot of different scenarios.
A lot of different scenarios. It's just kind of coming to fruition right now, not exactly clear on how it's all going to shake out. But we are excited that with that FDA full approval, CMS, Centers for Medicare, Medicaid, said that they would open access with approval. What happens is the doctor who is prescribing needs to go into some sort of registry, either theirs, maybe it's ours. We have a registry as well. So we're trying to figure that out. But the exciting part is they said they're going to cover it. And this is good for families. This drug, private pay, is about $27,000 a year. And that's not even counting the twice-a-month infusions at the infusion center, the post-checking the MRIs to make sure that it's working and not having any sort of side effects. So this is a lot. It's still got a lot to churn through, but the fact that CMS says they're going to cover it, this is what folks who are below 65 should really call their insurance companies and say, you guys going to get on board as well? Because as we know and we've talked about, people are being diagnosed in their late 40s and 50s and early 60s. It's not just folks over 65.
Exactly. And when catching it early is the whole game here, which it is, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about side effects, because there's also a registry going on so the FDA and the government can monitor things like side effects and whatnot. It's certainly worth talking about in case people can get their loved one on Leqembi.
Yeah, there's a certain percentage of people who could have ARIA, which is kind of a brain bleed. We are very familiar with that. We helped set up regulations about ARIA. It's not going to happen with everybody. Obviously, risks, and sometimes that ARIA rights itself when the medication is removed. So again, learning more and more about that. This is what we wanted. We wanted families to be able to make this decision on if they wanted to go forth with these medications, like giving the access to families so they can make the choices. And the point is, with this medication, it's got 5 to 6 more months of time at a certain area. We're not talking years, we're not talking a cure, but we're talking giving families more time. And that, my friend, is a gift. For those who've been through it, those who are going through it now, more time is really a gift.
And for a disease where there's been a maddening lack of breakthroughs, I think maybe going back, 20, 25 years, this might be the biggest one we've seen in a generation. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us. I know we are out of time, but you've been on the show a lot. I'm sure we're going to have you on a lot more to talk about Leqembi and all the other advancements being made.
We appreciate your time, and you guys always giving us time to chat about this. So thank you so much, Tim.
It's affecting so many people. It is well worth the time. Kristen Casado, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.